So far we have tried to understand the block flow diagram, but now let's talk about the process flow diagram and what are the things that we need to consider for making the process flow diagram. Now, process flow diagram shows all process engineering information. Now, in the process engineering information, you would have to specify the stream compositions. You have to be clear about the design of different equipments that are used in the flow diagram, and you should know the specification of each of the unit. Okay, for example, in case of the reactor, you should be having an information about the conversion that can take place from a certain reactor and what kind of catalyst basically you are using in that reactor. A process flow diagram contains the bulk of chemical engineering data necessary for the design of chemical process. Okay, now the process flow diagram, as it mentioned, that it should contain the chemical engineering data. So you should be clear about the stream information that should contain the mass flow rate, or it can contain the temperature, pressure. You should be having an information, for example, if you are making a design of the distillation column, then you should be aware that how many plates are in that distillation column, what could be the pressure profile and the temperature profile, whether that distillation column is having a reflux or no reflux. So such kind of information comes under the category of this one, chemical engineering data, and the design specifications that you have. Often, process flow diagram is drawn on large paper. Certain information is in accompanying tables. Okay, so when you make a process flow diagram, basically you provide the information of the stream compositions at the inlet and the outlet of the processes. Okay, so when we talk about the stream information, it should primarily include the mass flow rate. Sometimes if we are dealing with the gases, we need to incorporate the volumetric flow rate, temperature, pressure. These are the core conditions that you must specify on that process flow diagram. And for this tables, there could be thermodynamic information if it is required in the process. For if you are having some kind of reactor in the process, then you should specify what should be the conversion of the reactants. If there is some recycle stream, you should specify what percentage of the stream is being recycled, and this kind of information. So usually when we make the process flow diagram, we specify the stream compositions of all the streams on that process, and sometimes the information is too large that it cannot accommodate on a single paper. So you would see large papers in the industries with having such kind of information. A typical commercial process flow diagram will contain the following information. First one, all major pieces of equipment in the process will be represented along with a descriptive name and the number. Okay, so whatever equipment you have in the process, you should put that equipment on a piece of paper in the process flow diagram, and that equipment should be numbered and designated with a special characters that are fixed for certain equipments. Number two, all process flow streams will be shown and identified with a number. So whatever flow streams going into the process or coming out of the process, those streams should be designated with a number. Description of process conditions and chemical composition of each stream must be included. Okay, so you need to specify the chemical composition or the stream composition of all the streams which are available on the flow sheet. For example, if you are dealing with the five different kind of chemicals in a process, then you need to specify the composition of each of the chemical that is used in that process. Okay, third one, all utility streams of supplied to major equipment that provides a process function will be shown. So the streams, like the utility streams, the utility, it can be an air, it can be a cooling water, or it can be a heat stream. So you should show all the utility streams and how those utility streams can be interacted with the major equipments. Sometimes the utility streams can be mixed with the process streams for the heating and the cooling purposes, but most of the times there is an indirect contact through the heat exchangers to supply and exchange the heat. Okay, so we need to specify such kind of information by using the utility streams clearly on the process flow diagram. Basic control loops will be shown. So the information about the controls should be also provided on the process flow diagram, and some common loops or the basic loops which are a part of the overall process can be represented on the process flow diagram. Obviously, the detailed control loops will be a part of P and IDs. Later we will study that one, but the basic control loops can be shown on the process flow diagram. Now let us see what is the basic information that can be provided by the PFD. First one, process topology. Now in case of process topology, you can have an information about all the equipments in that process and how those equipments can be connected with the other equipment. So it will give you the bird eye view of the process, and you would be having an idea that which equipment is placed at which part of the process. Second one, stream information. As I explained earlier, stream information, here you should include all the process streams, and should specify the composition of those streams and the operating temperature and the pressures of those streams. Third one is the equipment information. So as I gave you the example for the distillation column, for the in case of this equipment, you should be having an information about the number of trays, what is the material, or what type of caps you are using in that one. It is if it is a packed column, or it is or some kind of other surface enhancing material is used in that column, and what is a reflux ratio if you are having the total condensing column, what kind of reboiler you are going to use on that distillation column. So depending on each of the equipment, you should be having an information about all the about all the pieces that are integrated with that equipment. Now let's see what is process topology, and the location of and interaction between equipment and process streams is referred as a process topology. So it gives you the flow sheet, or it gives you a diagram in which you can have an information of the equipment, how they are placed in the in the plant, and how different process streams can be connected with those units. The topology of process showing the connectivity of all the streams and the equipments. Okay, now for how you can show the connectivity between the streams by using the pipelines, and with the equipments you should be having the location of a certain pipeline and how that pipeline can be connected with an equipment. The example that we have seen earlier, it is HDA process, that is hydrodealkylation of toluene to produce the benzene. You can see these figures here. For example, this one is a figure. This one is the process flow diagram. The same figure we have seen earlier in the form of block flow diagram that just contain only 3 to 4 blocks. Now this process flow diagram, it is somehow more detailed compared to the block flow diagram, and we will see that what are the additional information that we need to make this process flow diagram. The second one, the tables, it will give you the information that should be on the PFD but cannot fit. So in the process flow diagram, we need to have the information for the stream, and we should have an information for the stream composition. Use appropriate conventions. Consistency is important in communication of process information. When you put such kind of equipments on this flow sheet, now you have to abide by certain rules. For instance, there is some special coding for the vessels, there is some different coding for the heater, there is a different starting name or the abbreviation for the fired heater, and same goes with the reactor, absorbers, distillation columns, pumps and compressors. So there is a list of equipments, and we have some special designation of those equipments that we need to follow in the industry to avoid confusion. Now let's see that what we have on this process flow diagram for this HTA process for the benzene production. Now here you can see the different units and the starting points. For example, you can have the symbol for the inlet streams for the feedstock, which is toluene and hydrogen, and on the other hand you can see the shape for the outlets, which is the benzene and the flue gas in this case. So this is the designation for the inlet and outlet streams. The similar case with the units that are placed on this flow sheet. For example, we are having the vessel here, which is having the code V101. Then we have this kind of pump, which is having this different code. The same goes with this one, the fired heater, absorber, and the other columns. So how we can designate the names of these units? So we have to see different rules now. Okay, so let's see those rules. uh, Before going to those rules, let's see some of the common symbols that we can use for the process flow diagram. So the heat exchangers can be drawn in this form. Now each of these heat exchanger, it represent you the different type of the heat exchanger. So depending on the process, you should have an information that which kind of heat exchanger you are going to use in the process. If you're using the fire heater, then this is the shape of the fire heater. These are the some of the shapes of the storage tank. Then you can have different shapes for the pumps, the compressors, and then again pumps. For different kinds of absorbers and distillation columns, you can have different shapes. For the horizontal and for the vertical vessels, you can use such kind of shapes. For the reactors, you can see these kinds of different shapes. Okay, so these shapes, they vary with the type of the reactor or the type of equipment that you're using. The same goes with the process input streams, process output streams. If there is a control valve in the system, globe valve, this diamond shape symbol represent you the stream number. This circle shape represent you the instrument flag. We will see that how we can now tag those equipments and what are the conventions that we can use. Now this is the journal format of designing or designating any of the stream. So the basic or the journal format is XXYZZA/P. Now how we can use this journal format for specifying any of the equipment, and how we can write down the name of any of the equipment on the flow sheet. So the XX here represent you. XX is the identification letter for the equipment classification. Now XX here represent you the identification letters for the type of equipment that you're using. For example, if you are having a compressor in the flow sheet, then you can use the C instead of this XX. If you want to write down or designate the name of the heat exchanger, then you have to use the symbol E. If you want to use if you want to write down the name of some fire heater, you have to use the letter H. If there is any pump, then it can be written with the P letter. If there is a reactor, it can be written with R. The same goes with the tower, storage tank, vessel. Okay, so for all of these equipments that are written here, there is a letter that must be fixed with these equipments. Okay, so the first XX, you have to write down the name of this equipment along with the letter. Okay, now the second letter here, Y, it represents you the area within the plant. So if when you go to the industry, when you go to the plant, you will see that any plant, it has been divided into different zones. Okay, so Y designate you an area within the plant. It can be 100, it can be 200 area, 300, such kind of numbers. Okay, the ZZ, it represents the number designation of each equipment in an equipment class. Now ZZ, it represents you the equipment in that class. Okay. For example, in the area 100, there are two vessels. So what should be the number of that vessel? So area, it can be 101, and vessel number 2, so it can be written as 02, where you can have some fault. Okay, so this is how you can designate the equipments, which can be easily traceable by the engineers and the people that are working on the plant. The next thing, A/B, it identifies parallel units or backup units not shown on the process flow diagram. So sometimes you will see this symbol AB. It represents, for example, on the same pipeline or on the one pipeline, you can have two pumps, and one pump is operational and the other one is at the standby in case the first pump doesn't operate. So in that case, we usually designate the symbols as A slash B to show that there are some multiple equipment on the pipeline having the same specification, and it simply represent you spare equipments on the same pipeline. Now let us see how we can use this format again. Now this one, I will show you this one directly here on the flow sheet. If we go back here, so for this inlet stream, which is a toluene, you can see this symbol here that can be used for the inlet stream, similar for the toluene and the hydrogen, and the opposite symbol you can see for the products, which you can see here. Now, if you want to write down the name of any vessel, how you can write down the name XX, which is the vessel, so you can write down V here. Then first number here represent you the area, so this one maybe this process may be installed in the area 100, so the area can be written as 100. Okay, and now this one, it represent you the equipment number. Now in this process there is only one column, the horizontal column, so it is simply one. Now here, for example, you are having some pump here. Now the pump can be designated as P. The area is 100 and the location of this pump is 1, or the pump number 1. If you are having multiple pumps here in the same flow sheet, for example here, now you see pump is P, area is 100. Now the pump location is 2. You mean the second pump, and AB here and AB here represent you that there are multiple pumps, or the two or maybe two pumps on the same pipeline that can be used if one of the pump is out of order. Now the same case with this heat exchanger, it can be designated as E, the area is 100 and the equipment number is 1. You may see different heat exchanger here, so you will see this is coming with the number 2 and this is coming with the number 4. So this is how we designate and specify how we designate and specify the location of each equipment on the plant. Okay. The same case with this fired heater, air and fuel gas, they represent you the utilities, and this each represent you the feed heater. Now if you want to see the name for this turbine, you can see this coding here, C101. So C means compressor, and 100 is the area, and 1 is the number of this unit, and EV represent you maybe there are two compressors on this pipeline that can be used in case one compressor is out of order. Okay, now this is how you can designate different equipments in the process, and to avoid any confusion and to trace any equipment if some fault happens. Okay, now let us see this one again, XXYZZAB. So XX represent a one or two letter designation for an equipment. So if you're using the pump, XX can be written as P. Y, this one represent you the unit number, or sometimes we designate this one as a position of that unit in a specific area of the plant. Okay, so it can be one or two. Usually it is written as 100 or maybe simply 200. ZZ designates the equipment number for the unit, so it can be from 1 to 100 depending on how many same equipments are present into the similar area. So this is we can put the numbers from 1 to 99. A and B represent you the presence of any spare equipments, as I explained earlier. Now do this one quickly. Consider the unit operation P101A-P. P represent you the pump. A1 represent you the area of the plant, that can be 100. 01 represent you the equipment number. So there is pump number 1 in the area 100, and AB represent you the spare pump that is installed on the pipeline. Okay, so this is how we designate these numbers. Now let us see this flow sheet again here, and we discussed this one. Now there is one thing missing that we did discuss this one earlier. This one is the heater which can be used to heat this process stream or to cool this process stream. Now HPS here represent you the high pressure stream. If you look at the other heat exchangers like this one, which is having the CW inlet stream, which represent that some cooling is going on here with the cooling water. So CW is a cooling water. Similarly, IPS is the intermediate pressure stream. So we might be hitting this stream with the intermediate pressure stream, and then it is going into the distillation column or this column. So you have to be careful while designating the names of different equipments, and you have to be careful while writing or selecting the letters especially to avoid any confusion whenever you are drawing the process flow diagram. Now on this flow sheet you will also see this kind of flag. Okay, now this flag, it has three things that are written here. It has like different symbols here represent you different things. For example, the middle one, the rectangle, whatever the number is written in the rectangle, it represent you the temperature of this spring. Similarly, this one, the shape that is below the rectangular one, it represent you the pressure of this spring. The top diamond shape symbol here, it represent you the mass flow rate of this spring. So you have to be careful while reading any of the flow sheet and how each of the symbol means. Now, thus T905, if you want to just see that by looking at this number, that what kind of equipment is that, and how you can locate that equipment. Now T905 means that this one is a fifth tower in the unit 900. So this is how you can completely understand the name of this frame. Similarly, P301AB, it represent you the first pump, number one, the first pump in the area of the unit 300 plus a spare. So this is the unit 1, pump number 1 in the area 300, and there will be a spare pump in that area also on the same pipeline. Use unambiguous letters for the new equipment. For example, turbine use TB, not T. Now, whenever you use the turbine, then you have to use the specific symbol for the compressor unit, that is C. You cannot use the number TB or J, or not for the T. T is for the towers. Okay, so you have to stick by certain rules while making the process flow diagram. Replace old vessels V302 with the new one of different design. Use V319, not V302, since it may confuse with the original 302. Okay, so if you are having some vessel in the process V302 that has malfunctioned, and you have replaced that vessel with the new vessel, then you have to specify the new tag of that vessel. You cannot use the old tag, because otherwise it will create misunderstanding between different people who are working on the process. Okay, so every time you have a new installation on the process, you should write down or specify the new name of that equipment. Now let us see this example here. Operators report frequent problems with E102. Now what is this E? It is an heater. The location is 100 and the number is 2, which are to be investigated. The PFT for the plant's area 100 area is reviewed, and E102 is identified as a reactor effluent cooler. The process stream entering the cooler is a mixture of condensable and non-condensable gases of 654 degrees centigrade that are partially condensed to form a two-phase mixture. The coolant is water at 30 degrees C. These conditions characterize a complex heat transfer problem. In addition, operators have noticed that the pressure drop across E102 fluctuates wildly at certain times, making control of the process more difficult. So there is some malfunctioning going on this heater, and this heater needs to be replaced. Because of the frequent problems with this heat exchanger, it is recommended that E102 be replaced by two separate heat exchangers. Now instead of this one heat exchanger, they are planning to put two heat exchangers. The first heat exchanger cools the effluent gas and generates steam needed in the plant. The second heat exchanger uses cooling water to reach the desired exit temperature of 38 degrees centigrade. These exchangers are to be designed as E107 and E108. Okay, now what you can see here, this heat exchanger which has been replaced by a certain problems that are mentioned here. Now there is an installation of two new heat exchangers instead of this one. Now the new designation is E107 and E108. We cannot use the E102 tagging again for any of the newly installed heat exchanger to avoid any confusion. Why E102 cannot be reassigned to new equipment? So this is the reason that we cannot use the old tag names for the new equipment.